وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
وأما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وهو أصدق القائلين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
مولاي صاحب العصر والزمان, my honorable father, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last week we discussed how pride and arrogance are a hindrance or the padlock that stops us from spiritual development. The truth is, the same two elements are a hindrance and a padlock towards any type of development and our whole well-being, to be honest, whether it's physical, mental, or spiritual. We also use the example of the car, and I want to build on that example because many of you have appreciated and were able to relate to the example of the car a lot. We said that despite the car being a necessity of life in our modern day and age, it doesn't make logical sense to spend the whole 24 hours in looking after the needs of that car, because ultimately it's just a vehicle that's supposed to get us from A to B. And nobody, apart from one person, challenged that notion. So does that mean then we are supposed to neglect or not take care of this vehicle, of this car? What is the view of Islam? What is the view of Allah and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? We all know, and we've all heard throughout our lives, that the ultimate goal behind our creation is to attain perfection. And spiritual perfection is at the highest level of that perfection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. Every action of His is done under the shelter or under the dome of divine wisdom. Everything that He does, whether it is the creation of a particular stone or a leaf, it is done under divine wisdom. Allah, the most wise, having created us and having set the goal for us to attain perfection, decided that the only path, the only way, the only vehicle towards attaining that perfection is through this physical body. And time again we are reminded in the Quran, in many verses. One of the most prominent verses is verse 24, chapter number 80 of the Holy Quran, in Surah Abasa wa Tawalla. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلْيَنظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. And man should look at the food that he is eating. We all know that part of the miracle of the Holy Quran is the fact that every single word of the Holy Quran has multiple dimensions. If the same verse, if you take this verse and you give it to a doctor, for example, and you say, what's your interpretation of this verse? He will say, Allah is telling us to look at the suitability of the food that we are eating. For example, if I suffer from diabetes and I want to go and have a go at the halwa that's outside on the table, the doctor will say to me, you're going against the words of the Quran because it's not suitable for you. The same verse, if it was given to the Maulana of the community, he will say to you that this verse is Allah wants us to look at the source of this food. So for example, a Gnostic or a Arif will say to you that more than what you eat, what matters is the source that it has come from, because that will have a direct influence and impact on your spiritual development. If you give the same verse to the jurist, to a faqih, to Ayatollah Sistani, he will say to you, Allah wants you to focus on the fact that whether the food is haram or halal. Was it ghasbi or is it mubah? You give the same verse to a nutritionist, and the nutritionist will be able to interpret from this verse what is the nutritional value of the food that you're about to eat. Is it going to benefit you or harm you? And you give the same verse to a naturist, for example, and they will say to you, you need to look at how the food was made. Was it made in sustainable ways? Is it organic or is it not? The truth is, that all of these guys are true, are right in what they are saying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to shake us and wake us up and say that the health and the well-being of this physical body is paramount to the health and the well-being of your spiritual and mental being. When we building on the car example, the same example that we used last week. For example, we all know that this body, and we discussed last week, is on loan to us. We're going to leave this car behind and the spirit will continue in its journey. Let's say you went and took a car on loan today. You went and signed a document to take a car out on loan. One of the first conditions in that loan agreement would most certainly be that you need to return this car in the same way we gave it to you. Yes? And it's the same with our body. If we are saying that Allah has given me this car, this vehicle as a loan to take me from A to B, then one of the things that Allah most certainly is expecting from me is to return this back with the utmost, having looked after it. The second thing that you might say, that even though if I take a car out on loan, let's say I decide to neglect this car. The car's job is to take me from A to B. Let's say I decide not to top it up with fuel or check the oil or check the tires and what have you. What will happen to the car? It might not even move from point A. Yes? So the idea behind the looking after this body in the eyes of the Ahl al-Bayt and the Quran is that this body is going to be the vehicle that will take you from point A to B. Yes. And the ultimate journey is for you to attain spiritual perfection. But you cannot do it without this body. We today say we are the lovers of the Ahl al-Bayt. We are the Shi'as of Ali ibn Abi Talib. But when you read about Ali ibn Abi Talib, that fearsome warrior, that champion of Badr and Khaybar and Hunayn, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Hazrat Ali al-Akbar, these people, these individuals were not only role models from a spiritual point of view, but they were the most perfect physical specimens that you could use as role models. They had complete control over the diet and the resting and the sleeping patterns. Today we claim to love Ali ibn Abi Talib, but where are we from the physical well-being of Ali ibn Abi Talib? How do we compare from the physical well-being of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and Hazrat Ali Akbar, for example? We refer to them as our Mawlas, yet we only want to reserve them as spiritual guides and role models. But the fact of the matter is, and inshallah in the second khutbah we will know, that we can never attain spiritual perfection by neglecting this body. In a beautiful hadith, the Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam teach us how to enjoy life. And many of the times we think that if you follow Islam, life just ends there. You can't enjoy life at all. In the hadith which I discussed on Sunday with the tafsir group, the Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam says, خمسة من لم تكن فيه لم ينعم بالحياة. Ahl al-Bayt is telling us that 5 things, if you do not possess one of them at least, you will not enjoy this life. So Ahl al-Bayt want us to enjoy this life. Number 1, as-sihha, health, well-being. Number 2 is al-amn, security. Number 3, al-ghina, wealth. You would say, Ahl al-Bayt want us to attain wealth? Ahl al-Bayt don't want you to be wealthy. They want you to be extremely wealthy, but with intellect. Yeah? So that the wealth is not the one who owns you. Instead, you are the one who owns wealth. And they might sound like one and the same, but they're 2 completely different statements. Wealth is part and parcel of enjoying this life, but it needs to be coupled with intellect. Number 4, al-qana'a, being satisfied, being content. And number 5, having a good partner. Having a good partner, whether it is a friend or a companion. إن أحسن الحديث وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على نبي الرحمة سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين سيدنا ومولانا علي بن أبي طالب.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على الصديقة الطاهرة بضعة طه وياسين أم الأئمة سيدتنا ومولاتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سبط الرحمة سيدنا ومولانا أبي محمد الحسن بن علي.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سبط الرحمة سيدنا ومولانا أبي عبد الله الحسين بن علي.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Building on the car analogy. Let's say you bought a brand new car or you took a car out on loan if you want to continue from the previous khutbah. You sit in your car. You own this car. Naturally, you should start thinking that because I own this car, I should be able to do whatever I want with this car. Yes? Isn't that what we say? This is my body. I should be able to do whatever I want with this body. But I sit in my car and immediately I turn the ignition on. The policeman comes and knocks on my door. He says, if you don't put the belt on, even though you might own this car, but we deem it as a necessity for your own protection for you to put this belt on. Am I sitting, but I own this car, this is my car, you're outside of the car. What jurisdiction do you have inside my car? He will say to you, if you don't put the belt on and you drive even 1 foot, you will be breaking the law. And it could lead to you losing your license and ultimately this car is useless. I move a little bit more. I come across a traffic light. The traffic light, the policeman says to me, when it turns red, you have to stop. Baba, but I own this car. I bought it with my own hard-earned money. I should be able to do what I want with this car. We'll say to you, if you don't stop at the red light, you're breaking the law again. For your own safety and for the safety of the wider community, you have to stop at the red light. I drive in a 30-mile zone and I've just bought this brand new Lamborghini and it's a waste at 30 miles. So I want to go at 60 miles an hour. The policeman will come and grab me and will say to you, you're breaking the law. But I bought this car, it's my property. He will say to you, no. For your own well-being and for the well-being of the wider community, you must stick to the laws of this land. Isn't that what Allah is saying to us as well when it comes? I gave you this body. I gave you these eyes and these hands and these legs. If you use them in the wrong way, you're breaking the laws, the divine laws of Allah. And just like in the example of the car, if you break the laws of the country, you may be prosecuted and punished. Allah says exactly the same. If you break my laws, you will have to be reprimanded for them. Now let's bring that ideology to the well-being of our body. Allah says the body functions in exactly the same way as well. I have given you a perfectly functioning body. I have neglected this body all my life. I've ate the wrong things and I've drank the wrong things and I've mistreated this body. If I don't make amends, then there has to be repercussions for my wrongdoing of this body. Yes? Tomorrow, when you are inflicted with heart disease and lung disease and brain diseases and all kinds of diseases that you might be inflicted with, don't sit and blame me, Allah is saying. This was your own doing. And this is the concept of istighfar as well. Istighfar is not about holding a tasbih in your hand and just uttering astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. That's not istighfar. Istighfar, number one, begins with remorse. Understanding I have done something wrong. And then making amends to the things that I have done wrong. If I have wronged this body, and it's resulted in me looking like this, then if I don't act now and do something about it, then tomorrow there will be repercussions for not looking after this body. And here's my hypothesis, and please take this with a pinch of salt. It is only a hypothesis, so it's open for debating, and it could be proven wrong. I strongly believe, that a person who chooses, and the key word is chooses, who chooses to lead an unhealthy life, and please don't think being unhealthy means being obese like me. Unhealthiness, the well-being of our bodies, is governed by many things. Yeah? The health of our mental health, our social health, our spiritual health, our physical health, and many other things. So you know if you have wrong sleeping patterns or bad habits at night and what have you. Anyone who chooses to lead an unhealthy lifestyle can never, or will find it extremely difficult, to connect with the message of Allah and the Ahlul Bayt. My belief. You might say that's a very bold statement, and I'm happy to sit and argue it with someone. But let me strengthen that argument furthermore. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam on the day of Ashura, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala time and time again was giving sermons to the opposite side. He put the amama of Rasulullah on. He ascended on the horse of Rasulullah. He even made his son Ali Akbar the voice of Rasulullah to utter azan. Ultimately, nobody was listening to him or paying any heed towards his words, the words of a divine Imam. Many a times we say, mullah no galyun che. You know, these are the mullahs saying this. This is Ayatullah saying this. What would he know? He sits in Najaf. I guarantee you, if Imam al-Zaman was standing here and saying, some of us might still be holding the same ears as the people in the other camp. Ultimately, Imam alayhi salam turned around to them and said, you know why you're not listening to me or understanding or paying any heed to what I'm saying? Muli'at butunukum min al-haram. Your stomachs have been filled with haram. We hear this many a times during Muharram, yes? And immediately we jump to the conclusion that Imam must mean that they must have haram kamai, earning with illegitimate ways and putting food on the table, having earned it illegitimately, wrongly. And yes, that is one big problem, and it could cause, it has many effects or detrimental effects on our spiritual well-being. But just like the Quran has multi-dimensions to every single word, the words of an Imam also are multi-dimensional. And maybe Imam alayhi salam means more than just earning in a haram way. Putting the wrong food, overeating, undereating, all these kind of things could be seen as that. Furthermore, time and time again, Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt, I'll come to the Quran. Rasulullah in a famous tradition which is narrated by all schools of thought. He says, Al-aqlu salim fil jism salim. The perfect or a sound intellect can only and only exist in a sound and well-functioning body. Why is that important, Ya Rasulullah? The Quran tells us. Time and time again, the Quran reminds us. This Quran is for those who are ulil albab. This أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ. Everything is to do with this intellect. This message is for those who have intellect. These examples are for those who are able to ponder. We therefore understand that the message of Islam and the Ahl al-Bayt can only be truly absorbed when somebody possesses a sound intellect. And that sound intellect, Rasulullah is saying, only and only exists if you have a sound functioning body. The conclusion, therefore, is that there is a direct correlation and there is a direct link between physical well-being and mental well-being, intellect. And there is a direct correlation between the message of the Ahl al-Bayt and Islam being absorbed by us for spiritual growth and spiritual upliftment with having an intellect, a sound intellect. Therefore, if we neglect this body, we will never be able to look after our intellect. And if we do not, for as long as our intellect is weak, the message of the Ahl al-Bayt can never truly be absorbed by us. So if we want to take maximum advantage, and this is what Allah is teaching us through fasting as well. If we look at fasting in the holy month of Ramadan, Allah says the entire goal behind fasting in the Quran, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Allah says fasting should increase your spiritual well-being, should uplift you. But Allah, the most wise, says that the vehicle or the way to achieve that spiritual upliftment is through hunger strike. I, as your Lord, I'm sending you a message to say you look after the way you eat, and it will look after your intellect, which will give you that spiritual upliftment and ascend you towards that spiritual perfection. If we therefore want to take maximum advantage of these days and nights and the days and nights of the holy month of Ramadan, then we must abide by the Islamic way and frequency of eating and sleeping. And what does that look like? Inshallah, for that you have to come to Sunday morning for Fajr, because we will be discussing that inshallah on Sunday Fajr inshallah. إن أحسن الحديث وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل. I'm sure many of us woke up this morning disgusted with the news that we saw with the massacre of 49 brothers who were going or were in between praying Salatul Juma in a mosque in New Zealand, just so that because an individual thought it was funny or permissible to go and execute them video game style. But there's a message here from the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Governments that's been sent to most communities, and it's been forwarded to me, so I might as well read a little bit out of it. The message, it's a letter, medium-sized letter. I'll only read the concluding part. So, in the wake of everything that's happened, they're saying, we know you might feel nervous and angry in the wake of this terrible news, and the government stands ready to provide the British Muslim community with any support you might need. The police have confirmed that they will today be stepping up reassurance patrols around mosques and increasing engagement with communities, giving advice on how people and places can protect themselves. The people who committed this horrendous act might want to tear us apart, to create divisions between us, but this will only make us more resolute to come together. And that is the letter that's been sent to the community. I'm sure if the community has received it, they will publish it out for the general public. I just hope that those of us who are politically active could piggyback on this and influence the debates and the members with the members of parliament, lobby them, so that at least we receive, if not more, at least the same level of attention as the anti-Semitic movement has received over the last month or so, if you've been reading the news and what have you. We're only asking for at least same level, if not more. There are hundreds of millions of pounds that are being spent in well-developed countries right now. And you need to, if you want to more details, read the article on Press TV on promoting Islamophobia. Some might say maybe we deserve it as Muslims. These kind of things. This will go in the news for an hour or two, and then the news will change. Somebody's dog has died or something like that. Some celebrity's dog has died. Maybe we deserve it as Muslims. We're so sleepy. Because I'm sitting here in the UK, in Leicester, and nothing's happened to me, I should not become complacent. Because these people sitting in New Zealand probably thought the same as well. You know, these bombings, these killings take place in Syria and Iraq and Pakistan and India. What's going to happen to us? You never know. You never know. And I hope, if anything, it wakes us up to stand up for our own rights and lobby our MPs and politicians to give us at least the same level of prominence and importance as the anti-Semitic movement, if not more. Finally, there's an announcement that there is Kunda Niyaz, inshallah, at the house of Noshad Uncle on Sunday. The details will be texted out, and I'm sure there will be in the Friday supplement. Let us also end by sending the thawab of Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha for the Isala Sawab of all those who were martyred today in that mosque attack, but all those brothers and sisters around the world who are not well, particularly members of our community, all our marhumeen, with Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha.